Yeah. What is up, Internet? I am Taylor, and this is the Cranky Comic Book Review Show for June 8th, 2022. Man, yeah. All right, whatever. Let's do this. Here's the books, worst to best. Everybody knows the rules. There are no rules. I don't know why I'm copying Dave Portnoy. The guy seems like kind of an asshole. I don't know. Maybe we should just review pizza. Be easier. Yeah. It was an okay week for comics. There was nothing really in here that blew my mind, and that was especially fantastic. There was also nothing that was really, really horrible. But I'm sure I could find stuff wrong with every book. Because that's what I do. It's not what I want to do. It's just kind of the nature of how I go through life. I see it through sad, sad eyes. Not really. But let's get into this. My least favorite book of this week was Batman. And this book has not been good in a... Let me just adjust this camera. It's driving me nuts. There we go. Nope. No. There, maybe a little bit. Okay. Not editing that out because I don't care. I mean, I care. I love you all. I care deeply, but I don't have time to edit today. I've got other stuff going on. Day jobby stuff. So, Batman 124. Josh Williamson on the writing with Porter on the art and the backup story with Poison Ivy. The backup story, not bad. S.G. Willow Wilson writing. I like her writing. We'll get into that later. The main story is just goddamn stupid. It really is idiotic. The motivations of the character in here just make no sense. And like the quote-unquote logic that this character displays also make no sense. And then Batman, like the way he acts, makes no real sense and is out of character for Batman. So all of this is just a hot mess. Batman has not been a good book in a long time. Let's be honest. It's like DC has like 4 billion Batman titles. They're all kind of mediocre. They're all not fantastic. And this one really is not good. I'm hoping Chip Zdarsky will bring something new to this. But Williamson is not cutting it on this. It is just not a great thing. The new character, the Abyss, blah. It gets even stupider in this one. This is just a stupid issue of this book. I'm not a fan. Okay, so when I said there's nothing to really complain about, I kind of lied. All right, next. We got about 8 billion books about starships and astronauts, and Point Nemo, turns out, which is where everyone in the world, I guess, dumps their starships. And this is where starships go to die. I like the cover. This is an interesting enough idea, but they're convoluted. It's Mark Sable on the writing, Alberto Locatelli on the art. Just doesn't make a lot of sense. The way this story is told is very convoluted, and for being a simple, straightforward story, there's just like pacing issues. There's art issue breakups where you just don't know what's going on from one panel to the next. And the way this story is told, the basic idea, I think, is that this starship went somewhere into space and is now back because it went faster than light and it crashed in the ocean somehow. But it also crashed somewhere in space, I think. I don't know. It's really unclear. And then there's a crew that's going to go look for stuff there, and then stuff ensues. I don't want to spoil the whole plot, even though there's not a ton of plot other than what I just said, so I guess I did just spoil it. I don't know. It's not very good. Aftershock had 2 different astronaut-y, world-ending kind of things, and this was just the least interesting of the 2 this week. Is this Aftershock? It is Aftershock. Okay, good. I'm right. I don't know. I didn't care for this one. The art is drawn art, and it's hit or miss for me. Some panels are good and some are not. Like I said, there's some muddiness and just some lack of clarity to how this thing is told. I think it needed a once-over with an editor and somebody to be to just read it and be like, what the fuck are you talking about? Interesting enough idea, and it's touched on later in a fairly similar story. Also a little more interesting, but not really doing for you. Okay, so next, those big crisis events that DC has? They seem to have them all the damn time. There's 4 billion crises. Even though I swear we had Final Crisis, right? So what's after Final Crisis? The really Final Crisis? The final Crisis? The super Final Crisis? No, we now have Dark Crisis #1. And what do you want in an event book? You want big, bombastic action, world-shattering consequences, giant things happening, status quo changing every issue, right? Yeah. Not what Josh Williams is writing. What Josh Williams is writing, you get Superboy the new Superman, trying to put together a team of D-listers. That's all this stupid issue is, honestly. Like, and then there's like a little, like a 2-page thing in the end there where there's like dastardly things going on behind the scenes. But there's not. It's not an event book. Like, we had all this crap in the setup. This should have been like an alpha book instead of like the alpha book that, well, I don't know. There's like 4 billion setups to these stupid event books now. Instead of just having the event, there's like Dark Crisis Alpha. Like, then there's Dark Crisis Alpha 1A, 1B, 1D, and like this just doesn't feel like the beginning of the event. It's a precursor to the event. But no, it's 1 of 7, and no, don't care. Don't care. I tried. I would have been much more interested if the story actually told, if the book actually told the story of the team he assembled, because the team he assembled is a bunch of D-list superheroes and stuff, which is my jam, and that would have been much more interesting instead of just Superman flying around the world trying to recruit people. It's a stupid, boring issue. All right, speaking of books that lost me, and I just don't know what the hell's going on, and like the storytelling has not gotten to the point where I really give a shit, like, I might be done. I mean, I'll probably finish this out because I still have a modicum of faith, but like, We Live, The Age of Palladians, number 3 by the Miranda Brothers. This hurts me because I like, you go back and watch my reviews of the Palladians, you're going to hear me repeating this. I don't know what the hell's going on. It's a convoluted story that hasn't really gone anywhere. I know they added another person to this, and like the time jumps, I don't quite get what's going there. It's not a small personal story like the first We Live arc was. This is like the world dealing with things, and like there's a lot of world building that happened in issue 1, and that kind of is where we're at. Not a lot has progressed since then. Like, there's exploration stuff. There's something that happens in this issue, obviously. A couple things that happen. One of which you're like, oh, that sucks. And the other which is like, I don't know what that means. But yeah, like, it's just a muddy story. And I don't know. I don't like the art as much. I don't like the storytelling as much as the first arc. It just feels like a severe step downward, sadly. And yeah, which is bad because it puts it below this book, which I also don't like, and I swear I meant canceled it, and I guess I forgot it was a stack of crap I purchased today. So, Venom number 8. This is the Al Ewing issue, which means it is what, Eddie Brock? I don't care. I don't care. I don't like Brian Hitch's art on this book. I don't think it fits the Venom character. This is Eddie Brock meets Kang, and I guess is setting up something. Guess? I don't know. The super clean, thick-lined art of Hitch just doesn't really work for the Venom character. And then, like, the split storytelling, also I don't dig. I don't like it going back and forth between Ron V and Al Ewing, and, like, the splitting of the characters into two. Like, just have 2 damn different books if you're going to do that, or make them 2 miniseries or something, because at some point, I guess this is probably all going to tie together and make some modicum of sense, but, like, right now, you're like, I don't know what's going on. Like, Venom, I guess, or whatever. The Eddie Brock, King of All Blackness Venom, or one of the many Kings in Black. I guess there's like 1 billion of them now. Fighting somebody, Meredith Baxter Burgess. I don't know, whatever. And Kang the Conqueror, not really conquering, but fighting with a lightsaber for some goddamn reason. I don't know. None of this is... Yeah, we're going to switch these around, actually, a little bit. Yeah, we're going to do this one. This is Code 45, number 1. This had an interesting idea, I think. Which is Scout Comics. It's a hunting on the writing, on the art, and I guess that the notion is there's dragons that live underground in Montreal. But you don't see any of them here. Spoilers. This is just a sad, lonely woman living in Montreal that drives the subway. That's this issue. That's it. Like, it's as far as setup goes, this is about as boring of a setup book as you can get. Like, I mean, if it's going to be a slice of life book where you're talking about loneliness in the city and all that, that's fine. But like, you still need to have a little more like emotional resonance than this has. It's just it seems like a shallow lady who expresses that she's lonely, but doesn't really go into it, and then she goes to a party. So that's the book. It's a dull setup if you're going to have a book about dragons underneath Montreal. Like, I don't know if there's a more boring way you could have set this thing up. I really don't. The art I liked. The art is competent. It's kind of got this like mixed hybrid of styles where the facial features remind me a little bit of manga or anime, but the figures themselves are kind of traditional Western, and the thicker line work and stuff kind of reminds me of like more traditional Western art. It's just, there's nothing here. It's just nothing. I might have been. I mean, I could have put this lower. I could have probably switched around a lot of these, like they're all at about the same level for like. These are all kind of interchangeably about for me. This one gets a little better. Next we have Batman Beyond #2. I'm not going to probably read any more of this though. Like the first issue kind of gripped me enough to pick up this one. It was mostly Jeff Johns writing. Now there's like 14 writers on this book, which I still don't understand why that's needed in any comic, because there's not like a point of view shifts or character shifts or anything in here. It's just like I don't really get it. Maybe Jeff Johns got super busy. He was like, hey, why don't you write a page? Why don't you write a page? Why don't you write a page? And whatever. I guess you're introduced to a new character in here that's probably not going to go anywhere. This is still Thomas Wayne's Batman being evil and Batman-y, and there's a little bit of evil Batman-y goodness in here that's kind of fun, but it feels like a retread, honestly. It's Thomas Wayne trying to figure out why the world's not fixed. That's it. And there's like new setup of a new character, and then shenanigans. It's okay. It just didn't grip me enough to keep doing it. So. All right, By the Horns, Dark Earth #1. In full confession, I only read the first issue of By the Horns. I liked it well enough, and then I kind of missed the rest of missed issue 2, and so I just didn't pick it up. So I'm behind the ball on this. There's a summary in here, and I think this actually came out last week, but there's a summary at the beginning of this that sort of explains what happens in the first arc, and I probably will pick up a trade paperback or something on the first one, because several people whose opinions I respect really enjoyed it, and I just kind of didn't get it. That said, I picked this one up, and the art is gorgeous. The story itself feels like the beginning of a Dungeons & Dragons quest to me. And I could say that probably about both of these. These are next 2 issues. I could just rinse and repeat what I'm going to say for the most part. But yeah, it's like, hey, you have to go here to meet this person to maybe figure out this and then go here. It's the start of a quest-giving quest. Like, you find the quester, you get your quest, and then you go off on the quest. And that's what this felt like. It's not awful. It seems fun. It's very bright and vibrant, but that it just didn't strike me as much of a story as much as it is like the beginning of a D&D module, like I said. So, and this is TWIG #2. It didn't strike me as much of a story as it is a part of a D&D module. And I like Scotty Young's writing a lot. I like his Strange Academy a lot. This is a gorgeous book. Like, this is probably my favorite interior art of the week by Kyle Strom. And yeah, it's just like, oh, the world's about to end, so you have to go get the gem fixed to solve the gem thing, to do the gem thingy, to do the gem thingy, to go there, to go there, to go there. It's the quest part. Like, and I get there's some of that's the nature of a questing kind of book. I get that. People compare this to Bone, maybe. But here's the thing about Bone. There's a clarity and a purity to Bone that just doesn't exist in here. There's a bit of muddiness and like some storytelling shenanigans that make it a little bit like, oh, that's just like Scotty Young thought that was neat, so he threw it in, but it doesn't really add to the story, if that makes sense. Whereas like with Bone, there was never a lot of that. Bone was pretty sparse and like pure, and like you could tell there's a plan all the way through the get-go. You didn't really necessarily know what the plan was. You're along for the ride, and you had to figure it out as you went along. And I mean, you don't know what's going on here yet. And you have to try and figure it out as you go along. But I don't know. It's not bad. I will read this. I will pick up the next one. It's decent. It's just not. I feel like it's a step down from the first issue, to be honest. And yeah, it's okay. It's just not leading in. It's not brimming with the excitement I kind of hoped it was. Again, gorgeous art, cool stuff. But, like, it's just, I don't know, there's something that's not quite clicking 100% yet. We'll see. Hopefully next issue it does, because I guess there's only 5 issues of this, so it's going to have to click. All right, Metal Society #2. The first issue of this I really enjoyed. This one I liked well enough. This is the idea is, like, robots kind of, like, rule the world, and humans are sort of the, not necessarily servants, but they're underlings, and they don't really do much because they're humans and they're useless, which, that's not necessarily new, but this is Zach Kaplan on the writing, and Henry Balby on the art with Marco Lesko and Troy Pateri. Anyways, this is the robots' point of view, and like the robots like losing benefits to humans who are uprising, and so robots mad, robots fights, and so this is the robots' idea of the setup of the fight. We still haven't actually fought. I got a feeling that'll be the ultimate issue, if not the penultimate, maybe. I don't know how many issues there are in this mini. I probably should have looked before I did this review, but I just flat out didn't. So. It's decent. It's very wordy. Very wordy. There's not a lot of action that takes place in this. It's just dialogue heavy, and a lot of it's internal dialogue, and a lot of it's like monologuing and stuff. It's not bad. It's probably gonna read better as a trade, but like the art is very like easy to view and clean and clear. The paper quality is great. The coloring is great. And it is interesting. It's a very interesting idea. I just want him to get to the Rock'em Sock'em robot action at some point. So I don't know. It's a second issue. Probably read better as a trade. So there we go. All right, next we have. After I get this in the bag, next we have, Point Nemo, where all the spacecraft go to die. Well, we have Aquaman, Andromeda, Black Label, book 1 by Ron V with art by Christian Ward. Gorgeous art. Something falls into the ocean, and Point Nemo, where spacecraft go to die. Everyone kind of converges on it, and that's this. It's another setup-y issue. Atmospheric as all hell. Gorgeous book. Little light on the actual action. I'm going to give Ron B the benefit of the doubt on this, and it's actually pretty light on Aquaman in this issue too. But I guess it's a Black Label, so none of this is in continuity. And yeah, it's like the color palette's all like blues and purples and dark and a little bit mysterious because there's a lot of underwater stuff. It reminds me of like Captain Nemo and all these other tales of exploring the deep mystery of the sea and how that's the real alien nature of this thing. It's interesting enough. It's not top tier Ron V, I don't think, at least not yet. But as far as their opening issue is, it's a lot of setup, and I think this is a 3-issue mini, so we'll see where it goes. I'm liking it, but it's not fantastic yet. Again, nothing this week has really been truly mind-grippingly fantastic. But all right, Aftershock. Remember them? They had the other astronaut-y thing, well, spaceship stuff. Here we now have Astronaut Down #1. It's Astronaut Week at Aftershock. Astroshock, Astronaut Shock, whatever. James Patrick on the writing and Rubin on the art. This is the better of the 2 astronaut books that came out this week. James Patrick wrote Kaiju Score and stuff, and I dug that. I think Kaiju Score. I can't remember. He wrote something else. Something else I liked. Maybe not that. Maybe it's Compete. It doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. This is Humanity's at the end. There's like weirdly kind of underwater. So like there's a lot of underwatery alien stuff this week, and like these people are vying to be astronauts, and that's the setup to this, and they're all competing, and so there's a setup issue. A lot of these are setup issues this week. It's just at least more interesting premise than the other one, and it's the idea is the world's ending, and we have to like go try and figure out how to save it, which is not new. What I do like is like the kind of nuts and bolts and nitty gritty of the setup. I don't want to spoil it for you, so like I think it's an interesting enough idea that this has some legs. So we'll see how issue #2 goes. Issue #2 is like that's probably going to really determine as to whether or not I'll like this series. But it's an interesting enough start on this one. And yeah, like the way the world's built here is it's not explaining everything to you. You kind of have to piece it together as you go along. Which is fine, which I dig. I don't necessarily need an exposition dump where like everything's kind of like laid out before you. But what we're getting here is not definitely that. You're like, oh, okay. I think you're kind of as lost as some of the characters are, and like there's enough characterization here and enough of a nugget to keep you going. Is about how I can phrase this one. So, Astronaut Down, of the astronaut and alien Point Nemo-y books this week, this is the best of the bunch. All right, we got 2 left, and amazingly enough, they're like both major creators. So we have Poison Ivy. Remember when I talked about her earlier briefly? This is Poison Ivy's gonna save the world by killing humanity, and I'm down for that because we've had our shot. We kind of fucked it all up. This is like a kind of depowered Poison Ivy, which doesn't get super explained in here. That's kind of like reliant on knowing some of that from before. This is after she and Harley kind of break up, and Poison Ivy's back from the dead, and this is sort of like the beginning of a gothic horror-ish sounding series, written by G. Willow Wilson with art by Takara, and I like it. I'm down for it. I like the idea of like a rogue Poison Ivy going off on her own and being like kind of a villain, and like not like sugarcoating it in the first issue. I've got a feeling it's going to end up with a redemption arc kind of thing or something that changes your mind down the line, but who knows? Maybe not. I'm here for this one. The art is not anything crazy flashy. It's not Like, there's not a lot of like many page spreads or all that here, but it is solid. It is kind of clear and easy, and like there's enough body horror and a little bit of grossness that I dig it. It's not a black label. This is, I believe, in continuity for DC. Also, like they changed the appearance of Poison Ivy in this, so you're expecting a green character, you're not going to get it. Spoilers. But yeah, I'm down for this one. This is the most solid, well, one of the more solid number ones of this week. So Poison Ivy number 1. If you've not picked it up, I'm recommending picking it up. You're not going to probably get a first appearance in here or anything like that if you're specking on it, but it's just an enjoyable read. And then we have a book that's all set up. Not a lot happens, but it's thick on atmosphere, and I dug the atmosphere that was provided, atmospherized, blown out into the world. I kind of lost the thread of that one as I was saying it. But we have the mighty Jane Foster and the Mighty Thor number 1. This is an all setup book. Not a ton really happens here. But the way this is set up by Gronbeck, who I'm not familiar with their writing, and Dowling, like I like the art. This is Jane Foster. Something happens, like where you have to. Jane Foster has to be like pick up Mjolnir at some point in this issue, and there's this growing threat to everything. It's not. It does not most likely break a lot of new ground in that regard, because everything I said does sound pretty familiar, but. Maybe I'm biased because I do like the characters a lot, and some of these other characters I just didn't relate to. The way this setup happened, it had this like sense of doom, and it's really like kind of palpable, like oh crap, something's about to go down. That the other setup books necessarily did not quite get for me, and this one had it. This one had the this could be an event. This could be a thing. This could be like a world-breaking kind of thing. Whether or not it goes any further than that, I mean, we're gonna have to see. But like, I felt that like this reminded me of like of a Jason Aaron's Thor, which is kind of high praise because I like Aaron's Thor a lot, and this reminded me of that run, that like not with the Assad Ribic art. The Assad Ribic art was I think a little bit better than this, but as far as just the sort of thickness and the density of the mythology and the kind of like palpable sense of like this is not going to go well, that Aaron really managed to imbue in a lot of his Thor stuff, especially like the God of Thunder with the Gore the God Butcher. This has that to it, and so this is my favorite book of the week. I don't think it's the strongest week ever. I mean, there's a lot of books, but I don't think anything really hit like high heights. But of the books I picked up, and of the ones I read, a Marvel book made the top of the list, and kind of shocked me as much as it probably does you. So that's what I've got. If you like what I've talked about, please subscribe to me. I'm working on getting to 1,000. If you want to help support the channel, I do sell merchandise and stuff at taylorwinder.com. Link for that's going to be in the description down below. And I also sell Whatnot. I've kind of hit or miss on that one lately. We'll talk about that in another video possibly. I don't know. I love y'all. Don't be a dick, even if everything's just fine. See ya.